Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sales Comp Guy channel. Today, I am with Sales Comp Guy himself, Christopher Goff, and I am your host, Allison Goff. And full disclosure, we are siblings, but I am also a freelance web developer working at Sales Comp Guy. So without further ado, Christopher Goff, do you mind explaining a little bit about yourself to our audience today, and who is Sales Comp Guy?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Allison. I appreciate it. So the little bit about me. So it was a cold and windy Thursday morning, many years ago. So if I fast forward a little bit, let's just talk about professional me. I sort of grew up in sales operations. Started first as a statistician, found out that that was not a place that I was going to live for long, and started doing territories and quotas, and that sort of just naturally evolved into, like in so many smaller organizations, sales incentive and so many other things like reporting and analysis and analytics of so many aspects to support the sales organization, right? Over the years, did lots of different things, and I made a jump into compensation, and that was broad-based compensation. So I like to think of myself as being able to talk the language, kind of translate between HR and sales.
So now I'd like to hear a little bit more about your book, Starting Simple Sales Compensation. Do you mind describing it a little bit to us?
Yeah, absolutely. It came out Friday the 13th. Just seemed appropriate to launch that in May of this year. So it's been almost 5 months that the book has been out, and it came out of, interestingly enough, the pandemic, because these things would not have happened otherwise if the pandemic had not occurred, interestingly enough. But to kind of connect a couple of the pieces of where it came from, it was an opportunity, sort of like it all started with this leadership group that I was a part of, where I needed a project, right? And that kind of got put on pause for a year. And during the pandemic, most of the time, since I'd gone from like traveling very regularly to like going nowhere, I spent a lot of time networking and re-engaging with people that I'd worked with in the past, right? And during that interaction, I was introduced to George, and he worked at a nonprofit and needed to hire and grow via the kind of hiring of new salespeople, right? And so I was able to advise him on some of the basics, right? Like you'll need a comp plan, but you have to take a couple steps back. Like, what kind of sales role do you need, right? How does the market gonna evolve or react based on your decisions? What are you intending for them to do in terms of your transition of being the founder to bringing them on? Like, how does the sales process evolve from them all of a sudden coming on board, right? And digging in onto a lot of those type of advisory type of questions. And what after having that experience with him, that is what prompted me to think that I could do something like this as my project. And so the book came out of the opportunity to both, meet that new person, really question the way I think about the what I think about and the way I think about it, right? Related to supporting and advising in the day job, right? And then the group, that leadership group, with the need to develop a project. So I was like, I'm going to write a book.
So who would you say the audience is for this book? So who should be watching and keeping an eye out for this book?
Absolutely. It's been a bit of an evolution in my mind. So my first thought really was founders and entrepreneurs, even like HR leaders that need to, like, they don't have a comp person at small organizations, but they would need someone that can kind of advise them on this fairly specialized topic, right? It would also be new sales leaders into that organization or CROs, because one of the primary issues is the assumption that you can kind of just take what worked somewhere else and just insert it anywhere, and that somehow it'll take care of itself,
Yeah,
right?
copy and paste doesn't
Yeah.
always work.
No, copy paste, it can be problematic. That's why you have to use paste special. But in general, that's part of what I perceived as a target audience. Like ultimately, we're talking about someone who needs to help put together a sales plan. So that could be somebody in finance, could be somebody in HR, could be a founder, could be somebody who just needs to figure out how to grow via revenue. And this is an important component to that. Like, how do I incentivize behavior in order to lead to that particular outcome? That's what we're talking about.
For all of these entrepreneurs or small businesses, or even nonprofits, like you said, what information do you think that they're currently lacking? And how do you think that starting simple sales compensation can help them?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that's a takeaway from the book is the need to really do like a bit of a self-assessment, kind of take a step back and look at your organization holistically. And in the book, I actually start with culture. So a comp book that starts not on comp, I think is an interesting book. I like to think so anyways. I'm a little
Yeah, it's
biased,
very
right?
holistic.
Yes, and that's what I sort of advocate as let's start with culture. Let's define you. And a good place to start in many organizations is a vision, mission, or statement of purpose, right? Like what do you stand for, right? It's a good place to start, because you do not want to bring another body into this work environment without knowing what it is that you stand for, because they have to then translate or convey that to the rest of the world. It's an important thing for you to take the time to really assess where it is that you are, and then sort of after that first step, I then dig in on budget as well. So then there is the survivability. Like, quite genuinely, take the time to figure out what you can afford, right? Don't get hung up on what everybody else is paying. Focus on what it is that makes sense for you, because you don't want to go bankrupt simply because somebody else tells you to pay something.
Thank you so much for talking a little bit more about your book, so that me and the average layperson can get a little bit better understanding of it. Again, it is Starting Simple Sales Compensation by Christopher Goff, also known as SalesCompGuy. Please have a look. You can find it on Amazon, Kindle, but you can also go to SalesCompGuy's website, salescompguy.com, to purchase the book there.
Thank you very much. And by the way, just to mention it, I do have a follow-up workbook that is going to be coming through next month, and that will help really guide the people who are in need of assistance in developing their plan, have a really clear tactical framework by which they can, spend in a few hours working through the workbook, have a plan. So I'm really excited about that, and it'll also be sold on all the usual places along with the book. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again for coming on Sales Comp Guy channel, Chris. And we hope to see you all soon out there on YouTube. Talk soon.
Thank you.